All right.
So we do have a presentation for this as well. We can go through the presentation fairly quickly. And Bryce is bringing up the first few slides, so I'll introduce this at least. Well, we know that we've presented this to you, actually, so adopted the preliminary budget back in September, and then we've had some discussions about this since that time. But for tonight, we have conducting the public hearing on the proposed budget to the public. And the purpose is not to address the market values, but that residents, we had a few calls on that. Brenda has dealt with those on a one-on-one basis. So we would receive any public comment, and it appears that we may have scared them away at this point. And then we have the 2021 tax levy collectible in 2022, and then approving the 2022 budget, as well as the 22 salary and wage schedule. The next slide. The budget process is got a very small font in these boxes here, but January is our new fiscal year, as you know. April through May, City Council would workshop on the budget and levy goals if we're looking at for the following year. And then staff submits our capital improvement plan requests by the end of May. So that budget process begins in that first quarter, or the first quarter to begin the second quarter. June, July, and August is when we prepare, and Brenda primarily prepares the preliminary budget and levy for consideration. We workshop that sometimes in August, and then the City Council is looking at approving that preliminary levy by the end of September. The adopted levy then, which in this case it was a 5% adopted levy, we look at all of the additional elements in that fourth quarter council workshop on the capital improvement plan. Adoption of the capital improvement plan, preliminary tax statements are mailed out, and then the budget hearing and adoption of the budget levy, which is what we're doing right this evening. Budget outcomes, of course, are a balanced budget and to continue to maintain city services. We do have an increase of seasonal staff wages of $2 per hour. We did in the proposed 2022 budget, we have a 0.3 FTE additional hours for one of our positions, and additional 3 months are included in the budget. As you remember, we deferred the hiring of the code enforcement rental housing coordinator until the second quarter of 2021. So that is now a full year FTE position, or it's a part-time position, but it's budgeted for a full year. And the last slide here, we have some other significant purchases coming up. Obviously, the ladder truck, which we talked about, certainly $140,000 will be a nice little assistance to that fund for that ladder truck. 2022 street improvements on Yorkton Ridge, Woodland, Maple Lane, and Ryan Drive. Still to see the Woodland Avenue and the Ryan Drive public hearings for that. Rondo Park improvements with the ARPA funds coming up, and one additional element on your agenda later tonight. Facility assessment improvements, park improvements, and again, no debt levy is proposed for 2022. With that, we do have the strategic plan items here too. These are something that we just wanted to make a few notes. I won't read through all of these items, but the 4 key criteria in the strategic plan: enhancing and empowering the community, creating operational efficiency, maximizing our assets to catalyze development, and mandating action and accountability. Each of those have several elements, or one or more elements, that are included in the 2022 budget that apply to those items. So with that, I will move it on to Brenda to go through the specifics of the budget.
So based on that preliminary levy that council approved in September, we sent that levy over to Ramsey County, and they sent out 2022 proposed property tax bills to the taxpayers here in Little Canada. And based on that tax bill, what we'll be talking about tonight is for every dollar that is on that proposed property tax bill, 21 cents comes back here to the city, 28 cents goes to the school district, 43 cents to the county, 8 cents goes to other taxing jurisdictions. That's primarily the watershed. But what we'll be discussing tonight is that 21 cents that comes back to the city. Here is our showing our certified levy for 2021. We were at $3,582,330. Based on our preliminary levy, which is also option 1 tonight, we would have an increase of 5% to that levy, or $179,080. And then we also do have option 2 to consider. That's a 4.5% increase in the levy, or $161,150. And then just to note that our property tax levy, the primary source of the property tax levy is for the general fund. That's our chief operating budget. But then we do have a portion that goes to our fire equipment fund that helps fund our fire equipment purchases. And then we have $122,200 that goes to our infrastructure fund that funds our street projects each year. The reasons for those levy increases of either 5% or 4.5 are listed here. We have our salary and health insurance increases for our employees. It is accounting for 1.55% of that levy increase. And then we have some market salary adjustments that haven't been identified, the positions, but we are going through a position and position and compensation study here at the city. And that study will be completed and presented to council in January and February. So we have just over 1% of our levy increase is for possible adjustments based on that study. Our police services contract, it is 0.74% of the levy increase. Just important to note that with the preliminary levy, that was going to be 1.8% of the levy increase based on our preliminary contract with Ramsey County Sheriff's Department. Although, but because of a change in the allocation of the funding with the 7 contract cities, that is now at 0.74% of the levy increase. We have a public works reallocation. The public works had a restructuring earlier in this year, and when we looked at what the public works staff was doing, they were being coded. They were coding their timesheets to more water and sewer activities, but in reality they were doing more street maintenance, and so we're recommending to move those over to the general fund for those street maintenance activities, and so that's 0.5%, the levy increase. And then the fire services contract, it's 0.49% of levy increase. And I just wanted to note on that, though, that the fire contract in 2021, Little Canada Fire Department, who you know provides fire services here for the city, for 2021, they came in with a 3.5% reduction for 2021. This year, they have a 5% or a 4% increase, and so the 2-year average of their contract is just 0.25%. Based on those levies, that option 1, option 2, we take that versus the tax capacity. That tax capacity that's set by the Ramsey County Assessor's Office. But our city tax rate based on option 1 and option 2 are either 25.559 or 25.419, which is a 6.57% increase or 5.99% increase. In order to put that in perspective, if we go to the next slide, what that means, here are all the communities in Ramsey County and their tax rates based on the preliminary levy. As you can see, either option 1 or option 2, our tax rate compared to the other communities in Ramsey County, we are the 3rd lowest. We had been the 6th lowest for several years. In 2021, we dropped to the 4th lowest, and now with this preliminary levy at 5%, or 4.5%, we do drop again to the 3rd lowest. So our tax rate is declining based on these levies. And we can go to the next slide. But then here is based on, I picked one of them, I picked the 4.5% increase. In pink there is our median value home in Little Canada had a value of $293,000 in 2021. That has increased by 3.75% for calculating the 2022 taxes, so $304,000. Important, they paid $676 last year. Based on the 4.5, they would pay $747. It would be a $71 increase. And the next slide is showing, though, that based on either option 1 or option 2, this is a newer slide and the numbers are pretty small, but what it's looking at is all the communities in Ramsey County. It's looking at their median value home, and it's taking their preliminary tax rate, and it's saying what they would pay in city property taxes. So as you can see here, either option 1 or option 2, option 1 we're at $751, or option 2 we're at $747. We are the third lowest in Ramsey County.
And only a $4 difference.
And a $4 difference between the 4.5% or the 5% levy. And so of that, the 4.5% levy, like I said, they would pay $747. And what that's funding is the largest portion is our police services budget. $333 a year of that property tax bill goes for police services, or $27.75 per month. And then we go with our fire services at $118 per year. Our parks, recreation, community services at $98. That's for maintaining our parks. Public works, that's for our snow plowing, our street maintenance at $77. We have general government at $65. Capital infrastructure, as we had talked about in the levy, we have that $122,200, and so $25 annually is for that street reconstruction. Community development, which is our planning and building inspections, is at $21, and then we round it out with our contingency. So $747 per year, or $62 per month. Yes.
The general government.
That is mayor council. That is the administration, finance, city clerk. Yep.
Okay.
Correct.
That's
Yep.
fine. Yeah, I just,
The city hall building, the maintenance of the city hall building is in there too.
okay.
Great question.
Oh, well, that was nice to have that in there. Serves.
Here, we're going to be talking a little bit more in detail about the general fund, but as council knows and the public, we've got a budget document that's 100 pages or so, and we talk about all about the funds that we're budgeting tonight, and so those are the budgets that we'll be approving this evening. And more on the general funds. That is, we've talked about this before, but this is our chief operating budget here for the city. We have a balanced budget, and so here, first of all, is the expenditure side. We've got $4,383,310 for that budget in expenditures. The largest portion is 41% for police services. Parks and community services is just under 13%, and then general government, just under 13%, public works 11%, community development, and then we round it out with contingency. And then on the revenue side, since we have a balanced budget, we have the same dollar amount there, $4,383,310 for 2022. And since the services that we talked about on the slide before with the police services, fire services, plowing streets, maintaining our parks, we don't charge for those services, and so we need to collect revenue for that, and so property taxes is how we pay for that, and so that's 71% of our general fund budget, and then licenses and permits are 7% intergovernmental revenue, and we go down from there. With license and permits, we did increase that by $36,300 from the 2021 budget. Anticipating that we will have increased building permit activity here in Little Canada in 2022. Had we not had that, we would have either needed to cut expenditures or increase the property tax levy further. Property tax relief, if there is anybody that would like further information, the state does provide direct property tax relief to taxpayers. We've listed 4 programs there: the homeowners homestead credit refund, special property tax refund, the renter's property tax refund, and the senior citizens property tax deferral program. They can contact the Minnesota Department of Revenue. The phone number is there on the screen, or the website, or they can contact the city and ask for me, and I would be happy to assist them also. Tonight, then, we would just ask for you to close the public hearing, then to approve the 2022 preliminary property tax levy, either at option 1 or option 2, or another option. Approve the 2022 budget, and then approve the 2022 salary wage schedule. Heidi will verbally give you an update on that schedule. We have a couple changes that we're making, not in the dollars, but on some certifications on that. With that, I can take any questions.
I have a comment, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
I'm mightily impressed that we've been able to decrease the level of city tax rate relative to our peer cities of the county year after year, despite having increases. What it tells me is that as a city, we've done a good job being moderate in our approach and not spending too much. And I think that ought to be commended. So I am just, it's a miracle that we've gone down as far as we have been, despite not particularly wanting too much for any given thing here in the city. Everything still works, and that's good that we're not cutting to the bone too close.
Mr. Mayor and council members, actually, I think one of the reasons, just observation, but the other 2 cities that were in front of us, or lower than us in the past, would be White Bear Township and Vadnais Heights. And their biggest reason for jumping is they have had some deferred investment, I would say, in their public streets, and improvements. And White Bear Township did a pretty massive bonding project to do some catch-up. And Vadnais Heights is also increasing their public streets funding in recent years. And so kudos to you that have done a long-term, capital improvement plan and tried to stick to that $1 million range. That's kept our streets in really, really good shape for a long period of time. And has, we've increased from that as needed. So it's not just our personnel cost, it's actually long-term policy decisions in regards to our infrastructure that I think are making that difference.
Well, I would agree with that, Chris, but I also think that the staff, from you on down, everybody, Brenda, especially in the finance department, have done a very good job of keeping us aware of where we're at and what our goals are and how do we get there. And the thing that I've appreciated the most is how well staff listens. I do commend all of you for that you do listen. You don't come in with preconceived ideas. It's not your way or the highway, and it's made working with you very easy. And it's been very healthy for us as a council. I can't say enough good things about that.
That were a motion, I would second.
So I guess I'll pile on as well as, that the whole budget process now is, I'm sorry guys, but the whole budget process now is almost taking the full year, right? But it's becoming a non-event. Because it's part of the nature, it's part of what we do, on a monthly basis or quarterly basis, it's less of an event to put the budget together. So I think the systematic way that the staff is going through this is amazing. I appreciate it. Chris, also kudos to you for having a breakthrough with the Ramsey County Sheriff's Department and the contract cities to, we've fought for years about, we think we're paying a little too much share in this, and you and the team have been able to put together the right pitch to get a little tweak in there that saved this entire city a lot of money without repercussion. It's not less service. We're equalizing the load across the contract city, so thanks for that.
So what do we need to do here? Accept the budget first?
Let me close
Which option?
public hearing first.
Oh,
5 or 4.5.
I will make a motion, we close public hearing.
I'll second.
Is it motion to close public hearing? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Always keep us in line, Tom.
Motion carries 5-0.
We don't want them rushing the stage.
So with,
I'll make a motion that we go with the 5%.
thank you, because I could have done that too.
I'll be the heavy this year.
And I think it's necessary.
Somebody else's turn next year.
We will have
No,
inflationary
Costs to adjust
Yes.
for next year. So
There's always
it's important to
something.
have that extra cushion.
Well, and there's
the
potential,
difference of $4 a month is not that great.
there's potentially salary increases that are coming up that we need to deal with, and that 5%
Yeah.
will help a lot more.
I will second that motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second to increase the levy to 5%. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make the motion, we adopt the 2022 budget option 1.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
We have to have a motion for certifying the levy and all those? Or is that covered?
You covered, but I
first
think
one.
let's have one more motion to do the reduction in the debt levy. As council knows, we have a scheduled levy for the Public Works Building of $183,618.75. We pay that with our water and sewer fund, and so we can certify that levy at 0.
So moved.
second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.